If you're in software sales, it is critical to have a good sales pitch. And having a good sales pitch can sometimes be the difference between failure and success. Now, having a good sales pitch is important regardless of what you sell, but it is even more important if you are in software sales because in many cases, you're selling something that is intangible, that can sometimes be difficult to touch and feel and see. And some products are very technical, and it can be difficult for your prospects to understand what your software does. And that is why your success is dependent on having a sales pitch that clearly communicates what it is you sell and how it can help. And in this video, I'm going to show you a step-by-step process that you can follow with the product or the software that you sell to create an optimum sales pitch. And before I show you that process, let's talk about what a less than optimum sales pitch looks like. And by the way, this is the sales pitch that most salespeople use. And it goes like this. This is who I am and the company I'm with. This is what we sell. This is what it does. These are the different packages we offer. Do you need what I sell? Are you interested in what I sell? Now, this is a very traditional approach to selling that salespeople have been doing for a very long time. I refer to this approach as product selling. It is a salesperson that's primarily talking about their company and their product and primarily trying to talk prospects into wanting the product that they sell. And while it's very understandable for a salesperson to sell in this way, there are a lot of problems with this approach. First of all, this approach is all about the salesperson and all about what the salesperson primarily cares about. The salesperson and the prospect both have their own interests. And the product selling approach is centered around what the salesperson cares about, their company, their product, selling their product to the prospect. The prospect's interests are completely different. So when you use an all about me approach, you're trying to take time away from the prospect to talk about what you care about, and this creates a conflict setting. You're creating a conflict with the person that you're trying to start a conversation with, that you're trying to build a relationship with, that you ultimately want to sell your product to. I think we all could agree that if you can avoid creating a conflict with the person that you're trying to sell to, you will sell more. The other problem with being a product selling salesperson is that the prospects that you sell to get sold to a lot. They are receiving cold emails and cold calls every day. And when you use a product selling sales pitch, you instantly flag yourself as being the next salesperson that is reaching out to try to sell their product. And this will trigger immediate guardedness on the prospect side, which will make them feel like they have to start giving you objections to try to get rid of you, and that will lead to more rejection and more resistance. Another major problem with product selling is that when you're doing cold outreach, it's most likely the case that the prospect is not in buying mode for what you sell. This is not to say that they don't need what you sell or that they cannot be persuaded to buy what you sell. What we're saying here is that it's most likely the case that they're not doing research for what you sell. So if you are reaching out to talk about what you sell and to see if the prospect wants what you sell, there's a very low probability that you're going to have a match there. And that's going to lead to missed opportunities, where conversations end prematurely. Conversations that, if they kept going, may uncover a need or educate a prospect on why the prospect might need the software that you sell. And as a result, product selling can lead to fewer leads being generated and fewer deals being closed. Now, the sales pitch that I help you to create is going to be completely different. We're going to focus more on the improvements that our product can deliver, the pain points that our product can make go away. We are going to use questions to identify if the prospect has the pain points or the concerns that we can solve with our product. And when we identify the prospect needs our software, we can then introduce our product and our company as a solution to the prospect's needs. We can share customer examples to also educate the prospect more on how our software works and how it can help them. And we're going to focus more on closing for the next step in our sales process. And we view this as a more consultative selling approach because this approach shifts from being about the product and focuses more on the prospect. By learning about their needs and focusing more on their interests and how we can improve things and make things better. By talking less about our product and company and more about the prospect, we are going to decrease and minimize how much we sound like a salesperson that's trying to sell something. And by being able to do that, we will immediately decrease the number of objections that we have to face. We will also decrease the level of rejection that we have to experience and the level of resistance that we have to fight through when talking with prospects. That will make it easier to open and establish conversations and build relationships and learn more about the prospect, and that will improve your ability to find opportunities, which will lead to more leads being generated and more deals closed. Now, this is a more sophisticated sales pitch, and while you probably don't have a problem talking about your product and your company, it can be a little more difficult to talk about benefits and pain points and knowing what questions to ask. But we decrease that challenge by helping you to create a custom-tailored sales pitch for the software or the product that you sell. And we do that by going through this step-by-step brainstorming process. Now, I'm going to go through each of these steps, and you can follow along and go through these steps with the product that you sell. And the first step in the process is to outline some of the key and most important details about the product or the software you sell. And to demonstrate this process, I'm going to use the product that I sell called Sales Scripter. I recommend making a list of the key features for your software. Now, once you do that, I recommend you take one additional step further to think about how are these features or how is my product different from the competition in terms of differentiation. And the next step in the process is to take a minute to try to think about the target audience for your sales pitch. Now, when you're just getting started with this process, you could just create a sales pitch that you use for everybody or all of your different prospects, and then you move on to the next step. But when you really want to get to the next level, you could or should have different sales pitches for the different audiences that you sell to. For example, you might be able to sell your software to different industries. Those different industries have different interests and different pain points. And with that, by selecting a particular target industry at this step, it'll completely change the rest of our sales pitch. And that additional step can lead you to having a sales pitch that's more laser focused on the audience that you're trying to communicate with. And that could be the difference that separates you from the competition when you're reaching out, trying to grab the prospect's attention, and trying to build interest. You also might be able to sell your software to different size of organizations. Talking to a business owner could be a totally different sales pitch from what you might say when you're talking to an executive or a manager of a department. And speaking of departments, if you sell B2B and into organizations, you might be able to sell your software to different departments in a company. The interests of a VP of IT are totally different from the interests of a VP of finance. Same thing applies to levels in an organization. A frontline manager might be more interested in technical details, technical pain points, and that is likely totally different from management at the top of the organization who are more interested in business results and big picture interests and pain points. But as I mentioned, you could just focus more on broad audiences, and this is often a good place to start by using a target audience of just businesses, small businesses, individuals, managers. Now we're going to select a target audience here and one that is very specific. And this is going to help to demonstrate how getting specific in this step can lead you to a more powerful and effective sales pitch. And I'm going to select a target audience of sales trainers. And the next step in the process is to outline the value that our software has to offer. When we sell our software to the target audience, what improvements can we deliver? And our goal here is really to brainstorm between 3 to 6 improvements that our software can deliver. And here's a trick. What we can do is we can bring back the features and the differentiation that we just came up with and look at each of those areas and say, well, when we provide that, does that improve something for the target audience? And I'll actually give you a little cheat sheet that you can work down, because here's a list of some of the most common areas that software can create improvements. Most likely your software can help make something work better, make something easier, decrease the time it takes to do something, improve revenue or income for your target audience, decrease their costs or expenses, improve the product that they sell or the service that they deliver, deliver, decrease the risk of something bad happening, or improve visibility and access to information. Now, of course, this is not a complete list of areas that you might be able to help with, but what you can do with this list is then look at each feature and cross-reference it with this list to say, when we provide that feature or the customer uses that feature, does it help to make something work better? Does it help to make something easier? And if you go through this list and your answer is yes, then what you can do is you can compose a few words to explain the improvement that that feature or that your software can deliver to the target audience. Important here, keeping in mind the target audience. We're creating a sales pitch for sales trainers, so if we want to create a message that is more effective at grabbing the prospect's attention, either on a cold call or a cold email, or building interest, we want this list of improvements to be a list of improvements that that target audience wants and that that target audience could likely see if they use our software. So when sales trainers use our software, it can help them to make it easier to teach the reps that they train what to say. It can help them to decrease the new hire ramp-up time when they're hiring new sales reps. It can help them to improve the performance for every rep on the team. And I could likely go on to brainstorm additional improvements and value points, but I'm going to keep it just at 3 so that we can move on and move through these different steps. And the next step in the process is to brainstorm the pain points that we can make go away for the target audience with our software. And our goal here is to think of between 3 to 6 challenges or concerns that your ideal customer or your ideal prospect might be having to where they need or might want to talk to you about your software. Now, if I were to ask you what pain points does your software make go away, you could probably throw a couple pain points out at me. That's great. Put that to the side for now because I want to show you this process. Because what we can do is we can bring back the improvements that we came up with on the previous step and use these to come up with an optimum set of pain points. Not only does what I show you next make it easier for you to brainstorm and create a list of pain points to include in your sales pitch, but this process that I show you actually leads you to coming up with an optimum set of pain points for the target audience that you're creating a sales pitch for. And that's because for each improvement, there's usually an opposite problem that's resolved. So what we can do is we can look at each improvement and ask ourselves, what is the opposite of that improvement? Or what problem goes away for the prospect or the customer when they start to realize that particular improvement? So we can look at each improvement, and that can lead us to a list of pain points for our software, specifically for the target audience, such as sales trainers can often have difficulty teaching reps all the different things they need to know and say when they're getting trained and onboarded. And that can lead to it taking a long time to get new sales reps ramped up and producing and selling. And when you have a sales team of different levels of experience and different skill sets and different personalities, you can often have not enough of the team performing well. So whether or not those are perfect pain points for product to sales scripter, I just want to demonstrate that we arrived at that list of pain points very easily just by looking at the 3 improvements and saying, what is the opposite of that? And the next step in the process is to come up with an optimum set of questions to ask and include in our sales pitch. Now, I personally believe the best salesperson is the one that asks the best questions. It's not the one that can describe the software and explain the software in the best way. It's the one that asks the prospect the best questions to learn about what's going on their side. Now, you may agree with that 100%, but still not know what questions to ask. This process that I'm going to show you here will lead you to creating an optimum set of questions to ask for the product that you sell and the target audience that you're creating a sales pitch for. And it starts with creating a category questions that I refer to as pain questions. Pain questions are simply questions to ask that identify if the prospect has the pain points or concerns that your software can help address. And it's very simple to create pain questions because what we can do is we can bring back the pain points that we just created on the previous step. Because for each pain point the product fixes, there is a question that you could ask to identify, does the prospect currently have that pain point or have that concern? So we could simply go through our list of pain points and ask ourselves, what question could we ask to see if that prospect has that concern? And looking at the 3 pain points, we can create questions that look like this. How difficult is it to get reps to know all the different things to say and ask in order to sell your products? How do you feel about the amount of time it takes to get new reps ramped up and producing? How much of a priority is it to get more of the reps on your team performing better? Now, again, I don't know whether those are the perfect pain questions for Sales Scripter, but the process here does take you in an optimum direction and lead you to creating a good set of questions. Another set of questions that I recommend you include in your sales pitch is what I refer to as current state questions. These are questions that can be asked to learn more about what the prospect is doing in the area where you have something to sell or in the area where your software operates. Now, the current state questions are unique for every different product, so I can't tell you what current state questions you should ask, but what I have done is I've created a little cheat sheet of areas that you might want to create a current state question for. For example, you probably want to ask the prospect if they currently have the type of software that you have to sell, who they bought from or who their provider is. You probably want to ask questions about systems they're currently using, some of their current processes. You might want to try to learn about people in the organization. You might want to ask about the current contracts that are in place and expiration dates for those contracts. There are likely different sizing questions for the software that you sell. You might want to ask about the number of sites or offices or locations, the number of employees or people, the number of systems. You might want to ask current state questions about the current performance or current stats in different areas. And a last good current state question area to ask about is the last time that the prospect looked at purchasing the type of software that you sell. So just using that list, some current state questions here for our software. And the last step in our sales message brainstorming process is to create a customer example. So you first want to think about a previous customer you've helped, maybe a problem they had before they purchased your software. What did you sell them in terms of either your software or a feature of your software that helped them to solve that problem? And then try to think of 2 improvements your software helped to create for that customer. And so when you go through those 4 questions, you might come up with a customer example like this. You know, we actually worked with a sales trainer at another software company similar to you guys, and they were having difficulty getting their reps to learn the pitch and all the different things to say and ask. We helped to solve that with our software platform and training program of Sales Scripter. Not only did this software help make it easier for the sales trainers to teach their reps all the different things they need to say and ask, but it actually helped to improve the performance for every rep on the team. So that is it. That's the sales message brainstorming process that you can use to create a sales pitch for software sales. Now, one thing I want to point out real quick is that we created this sales pitch for the target audience of sales trainers. If we changed that audience from sales trainers to salespeople, this sales pitch would completely change. Sales trainers care about training other salespeople. If we sell the software of Sales Scripter to individual salespeople, which we do, they don't care about training other salespeople. They care about getting more leads, selling more, being a better salesperson. So the improvements and the pain points and the pain questions completely change. So hopefully you can see how this process can lead you to creating an optimum sales pitch for the software you sell. Now, as you can see, there's a little bit of work and brain power to go through each of these steps. If that looks intimidating to you, or maybe you just don't feel like doing that work, I have some good news for you in that we actually provide a tool where you can use AI to go through all these steps. And this AI is actually inside of Sales Scripter. There's an area here called the Sales Message Builder. This basically is a software application that goes through all the steps that I just showed you. But if you want to use this AI, when you create a product profile, we are then asked the question, do you want to use AI to create your product profile? So I'll click yes. And then we are just asked 2 questions. Enter the name of the product or the service. So I'll just pick a very common software application. I'll do CRM software. And then it asks the name of your company. So I'll just put XYZ Corp. And if I click start here, basically what we're doing is we're communicating through an API to ChatGPT. And what we're doing is we're asking ChatGPT for CRM software, can you please outline a concise list of features for CRM software? So you can see here, the AI basically created a list of features for our product of CRM. And then we also asked ChatGPT, can you create a list of differentiation points? So it does take a first attempt at a list of differentiation points. Ideally, differentiation is going to be specific to you. So there's no way for ChatGPT to know how you are different from your competitors, but it does take a first swing at providing answers for those, which you could either use, or you could use those to get ideas, or you could delete those. But this is the first step of our sales message brainstorming of outlining product details. And what we want to do next is then create the value points, and pain questions. And we can do that by clicking create sales message. And it's going to ask us, do you want to use AI to create your sales message? And we click yes. And here we'll select the product of CRM software. And we sell our CRM software to businesses, of course, B2B. And here's where we can select the target audience. So we could get very specific. Let's say that we want to sell CRM software to VPs of sales as a title in an organization, or we might create an industry audience such as car dealerships, auto dealerships. I'm going to keep it very broad, which is a good thing for you to do in your first sales message. And I'm just going to leave what was pre-filled, which was businesses. And if I click start here, we're then again communicating out to ChatGPT, and we're going to say, okay, if we're selling CRM software to businesses, can you give me a list of improvements we can deliver, a list of pain points we can make go away, a list of pain questions, and a list of current state questions. So as you can see here, in just a matter of minutes, we've used AI to go through all those different steps. Now, are these answers perfect? Probably not, okay? But it can give you a good starting place to build on. You can get ideas from what ChatGPT came up with. You can use some of this, delete some of it, build on it. But the place that we're at in the process now is we've created our sales pitch. This is not our sales script. This is our sales pitch, which is an organization of the key things we need to say at different moments. What we can do is we can use this sales pitch to create a variety of different sales scripts. And that's actually how Sales Scripter works, is once you go through the sales message builder, then the software has this sales playbook, which is a library of sales scripts, email messages, voicemail scripts, questions to ask, and more. And these documents, which I'll show you a couple, fill in with your sales message. Just to show you what one of these looks like, I'm going to click on this cold call script value intro, and I'll click on our interactive view, which kind of displays your script in a kind of a heads up display. But this is the cold call script over here. You have your introduction, here are our value points, and then here are your pain questions, current state questions. But this is the sales script on the left side over here. And then over on the right side over here are objection responses. And the way this works is that we use your sales pitch not only for your cold call script, but we can use that same sales pitch for objection responses. And that is pretty much it. If you want more information, the best place to go is salesscripter.com. Thanks for being here. Hope this was helpful, and we look forward to seeing you on the next video. Have a great day. Take care. Bye.